You've probably heard the story of the Trojan War from Homer's Iliad at least once in your life. The Trojans capture the Greeks' princess, the Greeks besiege Troy, both sides battle it out until the Greeks sneak in a big horse and kill all the Trojans. It's a cool story, but for centuries it was considered to be entirely fictional. That was until one man with more time and money than sense showed up and decided to prove to everyone that they were wrong and Troy was in fact a real place. Allow me to introduce you to today's video's main man, Heinrich Schliemann. Born the son of a poor German priest, he made a fortune off of a few incredible business ventures, including selling literal gold dust in the Wild West, creating a monopoly on indigo dye, and war profiting off the Crimean War. He became so incredibly rich off the back of these schemes that he was able to retire at the age of just 36, which left him with more time to focus on his true passion, archaeology. See, ever since he'd been a small child, Schliemann had been obsessed with Troy. But unlike everyone around him who thought it was just a myth invented by a blind ancient Greek dude, Schliemann was convinced it was based on real, factual, historical events, and he was going to prove it. Armed with his copy of the Iliad, the second he retired, he headed down to Turkey, where he located and excavated a site called Pınarbaşı, believing it to be the ruins of Troy. And he didn't find anything. It went so badly that Schliemann was ready to pack it in, go home, and forget about his dream of finding Troy entirely. His luck would change, however, when he ran into another amateur archaeologist and fellow Trojan War fanatic called Frank Calvert. Calvert had been doing his own excavations, and it just so happened that Calvert's brother happened to own a farm on top of a mound called Hisarlik, and Calvert was convinced that Troy was hidden right underneath it. However, he didn't really have the means to properly excavate it. That's where Schliemann comes in. And after doing a bit of digging, Schliemann realised that, yeah, Calvert was right, and the supposedly mythical Troy was located just under Hisarlik. Now, under different circumstances, this discovery would have turned Schliemann into a living legend, and he would have been remembered as one of the greatest archaeologists of all time, if not for the fact that he made one minor error. See, in his excavations, Schliemann got a bit lazy, and seeing that carefully digging through all the layers of Troy and documenting everything would take time and effort, he just decided to blast his way through to the lower layers with explosives. And here's the kicker. Schliemann massively miscalculated how deep Troy actually was. So in his unending quest to make it down to the lower layers, he accidentally blew up what was left of Troy from the time of the Trojan Wars, destroying practically everything there in the process. As for the stuff Schliemann didn't completely eviscerate with TNT, he took most of it for himself and never informed the Ottoman government about it, which, spoiler alert, you're not supposed to do. Now, if he'd just laid low and not shown off his treasure too much, he probably would have been fine. But the Ottoman government soon found out about it, because for some reason, he let his wife wear the 4,000-year-old Trojan jewellery in public. After seeing this, the Ottoman government banned him from digging any further into Troy, something they should have done way earlier. That was until Schliemann sent them a heartfelt apology, and paid them 50,000 francs. Deeply moved by his letter and the 50,000 francs, the Ottomans relented and let him keep digging. But after doing a few more excavations in Troy, he eventually got bored with the whole thing, and decided to excavate Mycenae in Greece instead, where the Greeks kept him under tight supervision. After excavating Mycenae, he went on a trip to Italy, where he checked out Pompeii, which, thankfully, had already been excavated 100 years earlier. Believe me, if it was Schliemann who found it, we wouldn't have much left of it to admire today. Anyway, it was on this trip that he got a random ear infection and dropped dead in a hotel room in Naples. And look, I know I've been harsh on the guy, but against all the odds, he did find Troy, which is a monumental achievement. At the time, easily comparable to finding Atlantis, the Holy Grail, or a printer that actually works. And on top of all that, he left us with rule 1 of archaeology. Blowing stuff up with TNT in an archaeological excavation is usually a bad idea.